The storm came like God's fury, swallowing the prairie in white. Sarah Garrett fought through waist-deep snow toward the barn, her mother's shawl ice-stiff around her shoulders. She didn't expect to find a man dying against the door. But then again, she'd stopped expecting kindness from the world 2 years ago. The stranger lay crumpled in the drift, his coat dark with blood, a bullet wound. She saw right side still seeping. His horse was gone. His face, what she could see of it beneath the frost, was pale as death. His eyes opened, blue, startling against the white. "Please." The word came out broken. "Don't. Trouble." Sarah knelt in the snow, her hands already numb. Last week, the town women had crossed the street to avoid her. Yesterday, Daniel had asked why people were mean. She had no good answer then. She had no good answer now. But she knew what it meant to be left in the cold. "Hush," she said, hooking her arms beneath his shoulders. "I've already got more trouble than one dying cowboy can add to." She dragged him toward the cabin, leaving a blood trail behind them in the snow. Her back screamed. Her legs burned. The wind tried to tear them both away. Inside, her mother Emma stood by the fire. Daniel beside her. They stared. "Help me get him to the hearth," Sarah commanded, kicking the door shut against the howling dark. "We're not letting another soul freeze in this godforsaken winter." Emma moved first, grabbing blankets. Daniel ran for water. Together, they laid the stranger by the fire, his breathing shallow and wet. Sarah looked at his face. Strong bones. Weathered skin. A scar through one eyebrow. A hard life written there. But whose life wasn't hard. She began cutting away his coat. The bullet was still inside. Her hands would have to go in after it. "Mama," she said quietly. "Heat the knife." Sarah's hands trembled as she held the blade over the flame. Emma gripped a lamp, her face tight. Daniel peered from behind a chair, eyes wide as moons. The stranger, Cole. He'd muttered through fever, lay unconscious on the table. His shirt was cut away. The wound gaped angry and red. "Hold him," Sarah told her mother. She pressed the knife in. Cole screamed, even unconscious. Thrashing. Emma threw her weight across his shoulders. Daniel whimpered. Blood. So much blood. Sarah's vision blurred, but her hands stayed steady. She'd birthed calves. She'd set Daniel's broken arm when he fell from the loft. This was just meat and bone. Just another body trying to stay alive. The bullet came free with a wet sound. She dropped it into a tin cup, then stitched the wound with thread meant for mending Daniel's shirts. "Will he die?" Daniel whispered. "Not if I can help it." Sarah pressed clean cloth against the stitches. "Now fetch more snow. We need to cool his fever." 3 days passed in a blur of sweat and ice. Cole muttered in his sleep, names tumbling out. Thomas Margaret should have been faster. Sarah didn't ask. She cooled his forehead and kept him breathing. On the 4th morning, his eyes opened clear. He stared at the ceiling, then at her. "Where?" "Safe," Sarah said. "You're safe." He tried to sit. She pushed him back down. "Don't be stupid. You'll tear the stitches. Why'd you help me?" His voice was rough as river stones. Sarah handed him water. "Because someone should." He drank, studying her face. "You don't know me. Could be a criminal. The town already thinks we're criminals." She took the cup back. "One more won't make a difference." Daniel crept closer, fascinated. "Are you a real cowboy? Do you have a horse? Can you shoot?" Cole's mouth almost smiled. "Almost. Used to." "Daniel, let him rest," Emma called from the stove. But Sarah saw something shift in Cole's eyes when he looked at the boy, a softness breaking through stone. That night, she watched him sleep by the fire. Emma whispered, "He's trouble." Sarah, "The good kind or the bad kind?" "I can't tell yet." Sarah didn't answer. Hope was dangerous. But it had been so long since she'd felt anything but cold. Early February brought the thaw. Water dripped from the eaves. Mud showed through melting snow. Cole sat at the table, strength returning, watching Sarah cook thin porridge. Daniel chattered about a fox he'd seen. Emma mended by the window. It felt almost like family. "Where were you headed?" Sarah asked. "Before the storm." Cole's jaw tightened. "Nowhere particular. Just away." Away from what? He was quiet a long time. "Then, I worked a ranch in Wyoming. 3 years back. Good man owned it. Thomas Garrett." Sarah's spoon stopped. "Garrett? No relation to you, I figure. Common enough name." Cole stared at his hands. "Claim jumpers came one night. Shot Thomas dead. I tried to stop them. Got this for my trouble." He touched his side. "Been drifting since." Emma set down her mending. "Why?" "Because I should have been faster." The words came out hard. "Should have saved him." His daughter, Margaret. She said I was a coward. Said she never wanted to see my face again. "And you believed her?" Sarah asked softly. Cole met her eyes. "Wouldn't you?" Sarah ladled porridge into bowls. "My mama married a man named Jack. He was charming. Kind to Daniel. We thought." She swallowed. "He was wanted for horse theft. Died in a shootout before we knew the whole truth. The town decided we were criminals too. Church ladies won't speak to us. Store owner cheats us on every sale. Children throw stones at Daniel. Daniel ducked his head. They call me thief's bastard." "Daniel," Emma's voice cracked. "It's what they say, Mama." Cole looked at each of them. These broken people who'd saved his life. "I should leave. I'm strong enough now." "Where will you go?" Sarah asked. "I don't know. Just away." He made it to the property edge before his legs gave out. The wound reopened, blood soaking through his shirt. He fell in the mud, cursing his own weakness. Sarah found him there. "You're too stubborn to die. And too stupid to live," she said, fury and fear mixing in her voice. She dragged him back toward the cabin, her arms shaking. "Why?" he gasped. "Why do you care?" "Because I'm tired of losing people." The words burst out of her. "Because you look at us like we're human. Because Daniel hasn't smiled in 2 years until you came. Is that enough?" Cole stared at her. Then, quietly, "I'll stay. Until spring. If you'll have me." That evening, he helped Daniel whittle a wooden horse. Emma and Sarah exchanged glances. This broken man was becoming part of their broken family. Outside, the first crocus pushed through snow. Spring was coming. Everything was about to change. Mid-February turned the prairie into mud. Cole worked despite Sarah's protests, fixing the barn roof, chopping firewood, teaching Daniel to whittle properly. Sarah watched him from the cabin window, coffee steaming in her hands. He moved carefully, favoring his side but determined. She hadn't asked him to work. He just did. "He's making himself useful," Emma said, kneading bread. "Making himself belong." "He doesn't belong here," Sarah replied, though her voice lacked conviction. Daniel ran outside with a wooden gun Cole had carved for him. His laughter echoed across the farm. Sarah realized she was smiling. "I need supplies," she said. "I'll ride to town." "Take Cole." "No," Sarah set down her cup. That'll only make things worse. Town was exactly as bad as she'd feared. Mr. Hollis, the store owner, looked at her like dirt. Cash only, Miss Garrett. No more credit. I have cash. She put coins on the counter. That'll buy you flour. Nothing else. Prices went up. Behind her, women whispered loud enough to hear. Heard she took in a strange man. Living in sin, probably. That whole family's rotten. Someone should tell the pastor. Sarah took the flour and left. She didn't cry until she was halfway home. Cole was waiting on the porch. He saw her face and understood immediately. What happened? Nothing new. She carried the flour inside, hands shaking. That night she couldn't stop the tears. Emma held her. Daniel asked if he'd done something wrong. No, baby, Sarah whispered. You're perfect. Morning came cold and clear. Cole saddled Emma's old mare. I'll be back before supper. Where are you going? He didn't answer. He returned hours later. Flour, salt, coffee, and fabric for Daniel's clothes strapped to the saddle. Sarah stared at the supplies, then at Cole's empty holster. Where's your gun? Sold it. That gun kept you alive. You kept me alive. Cole met her eyes. Let me return the favor. Sarah wanted to yell, to call him a fool, but the words stuck in her throat because nobody had ever sacrificed something for her before. Thank you, she whispered. That night, Daniel wore Cole's hat and practiced his cowboy walk. Emma told Sarah quietly, That man loves you. You know that, don't you? Sarah's heart hammered. She knew. God help her, she knew. March brought rain and wildflowers. Purple pasqueflowers dotted the prairie. Yellow buttercups lined the creek. The world was waking up. Cole taught Sarah to ride properly in the meadow. His hands adjusted her grip on the reins, fingers brushing hers. Neither pulled away. Like this? She asked, breath-catching. Sure, just like that. His voice was lower than usual. You're a natural. They worked side by side, mending fences, planting vegetables, checking the well. Their conversations grew longer, more honest. Sarah laughed at his dry humor. Cole realized he hadn't heard real laughter in years. Daniel bridged the gap between them, hero-worshipping Cole with a child's pure devotion. Tell me about Montana. Can I ride with you tomorrow? Cole softened in ways Sarah hadn't thought possible. He told stories around the fire, let Daniel help with chores, ruffled the boy's hair absently. One night, Sarah found him on the porch, staring at stars. She sat beside him without asking. Can't sleep. Thinking. About what? Cole was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Margaret, Thomas's daughter. We were engaged. Sarah froze. When those claim jumpers came, I froze too. Just a second. But that second. He swallowed hard. Thomas died. Margaret called me a coward. Said she never wanted to see me again. Maybe she was right. Sarah took his hand. A deliberate, intimate choice. Cowards don't face blizzards. Cowards don't sell their only protection to feed a boy they barely know. Cowards run. You stayed. Cole looked at her like she was sunlight after years in a cave. Sarah. Their faces were inches apart. Almost a kiss. Sarah. Emma called from inside. Can you help me with this? The moment broke. Cole pulled back, clearing his throat. Sarah stood, her hand slipping from his. But everything had changed. Morning came with Emma's casual announcement. The spring dance is next month. We should go. No, Sarah's response was immediate. They'll never accept us, Mama. Cole said nothing, but his jaw tightened. He was beginning to understand that hiding wouldn't save them. Only defiance would. Late March brought warmth and storm clouds. Sarah worked in the garden when hoofbeats approached. She looked up to see 5 men on horseback. Pastor Yates, Sheriff Denton, 3 town elders. Her stomach dropped. They dismounted without greeting. Pastor Yates smiled, false as painted wood. "Sarah, we need to speak with your mother." "About what?" "It's come to our attention you're harboring an unmarried man with a child in the house." His voice dripped concern. "It's inappropriate." Cole appeared from the barn, Daniel beside him. He read the situation immediately, stepping forward. "I work here," he said. "That's all." "In exchange for what?" Elder Hollis sneered. "This family has no money. What are you really getting, Cowboy?" Sarah moved between them. "He helps with the farm. We feed him. It's honest work." "Is it?" Pastor Yates's false kindness vanished. A twice-ruined woman and her daughter, living with a strange man, corrupting a young boy with sin? "How dare you?" Emma started. "We dare because we care about this community's morals," the pastor said smoothly. "The man leaves, or we petition to remove the boy. Place him with a proper Christian family." Daniel grabbed Cole's hand, terrified. Sarah's world tilted. "You can't do that," she whispered. "We can. We will." Sheriff Denton looked uncomfortable but didn't contradict the pastor. "Cole, that your name? You have 3 days. Leave or I'll charge you with vagrancy and moral corruption." "You'd really take a child from his family?" Cole's voice was dangerously quiet. "We'd save him from corruption." Pastor Yates mounted his horse. 3 days. They rode away. Silence filled the farm like poison. That night, Sarah found Cole packing his bedroll in the barn. Fury exploded through her fear. "So you'll just go? Prove them right, that you're a drifter who takes and leaves." "I won't let them take Daniel." Cole's voice cracked. "I won't be the reason you lose everything." "You're not the reason. Their cruelty is." Sarah's vision blurred. "You're the first good thing in 2 years. And I—" She couldn't finish. Cole pulled her close, his embrace desperate and tender. "I'll go," he whispered against her hair. "But I'll find work. Save money. Come back proper. I'll marry you if you'll have me. Promise." "I promise." But promises, Sarah had learned, meant little against a cruel world. 2 days until Cole left. The air itself felt heavy, full of words no one dared to speak. Daniel clung to Cole's shadow, refusing to let him out of sight. Sarah tried to stay busy, but every chore felt like waiting for an execution. Emma said nothing, but her eyes followed Cole like she was memorizing him. That night, rain came again, thin, cold, relentless. Cole sat on the porch, boots muddy, staring into the distance. Sarah joined him quietly. "You don't have to go," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Yes, I do." "They'll still talk. They won't take him." Lightning flashed across the plains. In that brief light, Sarah saw the deep exhaustion carved into Cole's face, the face of a man who had fought the world and never quite won. "I thought if I kept my head down," he murmured, "things would get better. But it don't matter what you do. Folks always find something to hate." Sarah's hand found his again, firm this time. "Then stop running. Let them hate. But don't let them take what's good from you." He looked at her like he wanted to believe. "You'd stand with me against all of them?" "I already am." Before either could say more, a sound broke the quiet. Horses. Multiple. Coming fast. Cole rose immediately, instinct sharp. Inside. Sarah grabbed Daniel, pulling him to the cabin. Emma latched the door. Through the rain, torchlight flickered. Voices. The pastor's. Hollis's. Others. Cole stepped onto the porch, unarmed but unafraid. "Evening," he called. Pastor Yates reined in. "Evening, sinner. You were told to leave. Sun ain't up yet. I've still got time." "Not anymore." The pastor nodded to the men behind him. "This ends tonight." Sarah burst out of the cabin. "Stop. He's done nothing wrong." "Adultery is wrong enough." Hollis shouted. "You shame this town." Cole stepped in front of her. "You want me? Fine. But leave them alone." A rifle cocked. Rain poured harder, smoke from the torches twisting in the wind. Sheriff Denton rode forward, uneasy. "Yates, this isn't right." "You swore an oath," the pastor snapped. "Do your duty." Cole met the sheriff's eyes, a silent plea. Denton hesitated, then holstered his gun. "I didn't sign up to lynch good men," he said, turning his horse away. "If you go through with this, it's on your own heads." The other men faltered, but Hollis, red-faced and trembling, yanked his pistol. "He's turning us against God. He's—" Bang! The shot cracked like thunder. Cole staggered backward, hand over his ribs. Sarah screamed. "Cole!" She caught him as he fell. Daniel cried out, clinging to her skirts. The mob froze. Even Hollis looked horrified by what he'd done. Pastor Yates's voice trembled. This was not God's will. Emma emerged, shotgun leveled. "Get off my land." No one argued. They scattered, vanishing into the storm. Sarah pressed her hands against the wound. "Stay with me. Please." Cole's breath hitched. "Guess. I ain't going anywhere now." "Don't say that." He smiled faintly, blood on his lips. "You said I belonged here. I think. You were right." Emma worked frantically, tearing cloth, stanching blood. But by dawn, the sheets were soaked through. Cole's breathing was shallow, his skin cold. Daniel sat by his side, whispering, "You promised you'd teach me to ride to town." Cole's fingers brushed the boy's hair. "You'll ride better than me, kid." Then his eyes found Sarah's, a look full of love, regret, and peace all at once. "Don't let them win," he whispered. "You live. You love. Don't let them take that too." His hand went still. Outside, the sun rose blood-red over the prairie. Sarah didn't cry. Not yet. She sat there, holding him as if sheer will could pull him back. When she finally stood, her face was calm. Too calm. Emma moved toward her. "Sarah." "No. They won't bury him like a criminal." Her voice was low, steady. "We'll bury him proper. Right here." They dug the grave beneath the cottonwood tree, the one where Cole had first sat that morning he arrived. The earth was soft from the rain. Sarah laid his hat atop the mound, the brim still wet from the storm. Daniel placed the wooden gun beside it. "So he won't be scared," he whispered. When it was done, Sarah stood silent, staring at the horizon. Emma touched her shoulder. "He loved you, child." "I know." Sarah's voice trembled just once. "And I'll make sure the world remembers it." She turned toward the cabin, her jaw set. There was no more fear left in her, only fire. Spring deepened, but Sarah moved through days like a ghost. Cole's grave beneath the cottonwood became her anchor. Every dawn she sat there, fingers brushing the wildflowers growing over his name. The town never spoke of what happened. Pastor Yates resigned a month later, health reasons. Hollis moved away under whispers of murder. No trial. No justice. Just silence. But silence, Sarah realized, could be broken. She began by reopening the old well, fixing fences, mending what had been torn. The farm needed her. Daniel needed her. And work had always been her way of surviving. Emma's hands trembled more each day, but her voice stayed strong. He didn't die for nothing, Sarah. Every seed you plant proves that. Daniel grew quiet after Cole's death. But sometimes, when the wind blew right, he'd take the wooden gun and pretend to ride across the prairie. "I'm keeping watch," he'd say. Sarah always smiled through the ache. He'd be proud. Summer brought life roaring back. Fields green and full, rivers swollen from rain. One evening, Sarah hitched the wagon and rode into town. The same faces turned to stare, whispering behind gloved hands. But Sarah didn't lower her gaze this time. She walked straight to the church, its door half open. Pastor Yates's replacement, a younger man, greeted her nervously. "Miss Garrett, I came to leave a donation." She placed a small sack of coins on the altar. "For the orphans. For those who have nowhere to belong." Her voice echoed through the church. Every whisper died. Then she turned and left, sunlight spilling behind her like fire. Outside, Sheriff Denton was waiting. His hat was low, eyes full of guilt. "I should have stopped them," he said quietly. Sarah looked at him for a long moment. "Then do better. Make sure no one else ends up in the dirt for being different." He nodded. "I will." That night, Sarah sat on the porch, watching the sky turn gold and purple. The prairie stretched wide and alive. No longer cruel, just endless. Daniel joined her, carrying a small hand-carved box. Inside was Cole's bandana, the one Sarah had washed and kept. "I made this," he said shyly, "so we don't forget him." Sarah smiled, eyes wet. "We never will." The horizon blazed with sunset. Wind rolled through the grass like the breath of something ancient. Sarah spoke softly, as if Cole could still hear. "You were right, love. They didn't win." She stood, holding Daniel's hand. Together they walked toward the barn, rebuilt, strong, alive with the scent of hay and horses. A hawk circled overhead. The day faded into soft amber light. And for the first time in years, Sarah felt peace. Not the fragile kind that hides, but the kind that survives. The kind Cole had given his life for. As night fell, she lit the lantern by the window. It burned steady and bright, a signal against the darkness, a promise kept.